Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We appreciate you spending time with us once again. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the faculty chair of autonomous vehicle engineering at Princeton University and co-author of the new book, The Real Case for Driverless Mobility, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good morning. We got to keep plugging the book, man. I don't know. I guess we have. Well, the reason we want to do that is because I guess it's different, and we think that this is the real case for driverless mobility.
Since we're going to be referring to the book, a reminder that it is available now. You can find it on Amazon. Alain, you and Michael Senna have really laid out the case here, and
Yep.
in the newsletter, you even have a link to an interview you did with our friend Ken Pyle about the book. So.
Yeah, and of course, not that you already hear too much from me, but it points out the fundamentals and the substance, and it seems to me that that we've kind of lost our way here in terms of what it is that we're trying to do, and what is the problem that we're trying to address, and to look at the hammers that we might have in our toolbox and say, how should we modify these or use these better to accomplish what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And I think in large part we seem to have lost sight of that, or what's being promoted at the top, or what ends up being the top headlines. What it's not what one is trying to do with all this. And if one's not trying to do this, then we should move on to something else. So that's really what sort of the interview is. The book is why we say read the book, because some people, somehow, the book was required reading in second grade or in grade school, and they forgot, or they were out playing, or skipped second grade. They were so smart. I don't know.
Well,
I skipped second grade. That's why I point that out. That's because I flunked first grade. Oh my goodness. I mean, you have to be really bad to flunk. Oh, you better repeat first grade. Huh. That's what they told me. I had to repeat first grade.
You were disruptive even then, Alain.
Well, I mean, when you go to the classroom, you don't speak the language. I guess it's kind of tough, right? So whatever. Oh well, that's the problem with coming off a boat, anyway.
There are some headlines that are legit, and those are in the latest newsletter. So let's get to them here. NVIDIA added $272 billion in market value on Thursday, one day when shares rose 16.4%. It was the largest one-day market cap gain ever. Came after NVIDIA beat earnings forecast, announced its first dividend, and wow.
Wow. I mean, wow. That's all one can say. One does have to take one's hat off for the performance here, and this is performance based. This isn't expectation based. Well, of course it's expectation based because, of course, Jensen puts out there, oh yeah, there are $2 trillion worth of compute centers that are going to need upgrading. And guess what? We got the stuff to upgrade. So it is futures based, but I mean, hats off on fundamentals. I think, I don't know, that's the way I look at it. And we have our former student, I want to claim him. Danny, I claim you, who heads up automotive at NVIDIA, and Marie, who works with him. Anyway, hats off.
Just terrific.
Well, I mean, this was earned. I don't think, Wall Street's never done this before, so new territory. And the thing is, it didn't tank the next day. Right. The inverse of the dead cat bounce. I don't even know what they call it.
Profit taking is what they call it.
Oh, profit taking. Yeah, I mean, I guess, man, whoa.
Right.
I need that kind of. I need that. Well, I need any kind of success.
We're starting out on a high note, so
yes.
let's move on to some lower ground, perhaps.
Ooh.
From The Verge, Waymo's robotaxi expansion plans in California put on hold by regulators. The hold is until the 19th of June. And we have more to talk about with Waymo.
Yeah, we have more to talk about. Okay, California, you were leading here. And I guess what you thought you were leading in, you're having a question as to whether or not it's worth doing, which is appropriate. But I think you've lost sight of what it is that you were doing. And that's why you should read the book. And you really should read the book. Actually, just read the cover. Just read the title, the whole thing. That's the hint. I mean, you don't even have to read the book. And actually, for those of us who can't read, Fred's doing an audio version, so we're all good.
You can listen to it while you're in a robotaxi, right? So, the San Francisco Standard had a report about activists gathering in Chinatown to demand an immediate ban on self-driving cars. But you took a look at the photo here and pointed out this wasn't too much of a gathering.
I don't know, as I put in there. Sorry, I don't. I'm trying to be serious here, but there are 5 people there with signs that were what? I mean, they're just not even. What are you talking about here? And so, okay, if you want to make up stuff, if 5 people want to make up stuff and the Standard has nothing else to print, well, then go take pictures of 5 people, whatever.
Right. The garage sale down the street had a bigger crowd. That's what
I guess. Yeah, yeah.
San Mateo County's Board of Supervisors is asking the PUC in California to reconsider allowing Waymo to operate there. Just another
It's
move.
I mean, I guess what the Board of Supervisors there think that what Waymo is offering, they're saying no, thank you. So maybe Waymo should reevaluate what it's offering. And if it's really offering what's in the book, then somehow your message isn't getting there. Unless San Mateo is, I guess I should really want to live there because life must be so good for everybody to be able to get around in San Mateo that, whatever it is, the hammer that is being created by Waymo, they don't have any nails. They don't have anything that needs to be attached. They're all good. And if San Mateo is all good, God bless you. But, there's a disconnect here.
The CEO of Stellantis, meanwhile, according to Yahoo News and TechCrunch, is saying there is still life in the company's deal with Waymo for self-driving delivery vans. Partnership, I guess, that they talked about a couple of years ago. He's quoted as saying that partnership is deepening.
Yeah, I mean, guess what? Non-humans need rides too. Things need rides. We provide rides for them right now in various ways, with various levels of services, with various implications in terms of quality and cost. And maybe this hammer that Waymo's been creating can help out there too. I mean, we've talked about this again ad nauseum. There is things need to be delivered. They can't deliver themselves.
Right. And this case, Alan,
my Amazon package, there are two ways to do rides. You can either give yourself a ride, or somebody has to give you a ride. Because you may want to go from A to B at time T. Now, if you just want to stay home, then, no problem. But if you're dealing with the issue of going A to B at time T, then you can either do it yourself, if you can put together and mass them and all the things to, it's what Home Depot's all about. Allowing you to get all this stuff so you can do it yourself. Okay. The other is, I'm better off if I let somebody else do that for me. Whatever the better off, there are different folks of us can be better off in different ways.
And let
now
the
with
goods
things,
let the
now
goods
with
come to you,
non-humans,
right?
with non-humans, things, I don't know of a thing, unless it's an animal, it can give itself a ride. So it has to be given a ride. That's what the trucking industry, the railroads, the freight airs, the canals, the whatever, conveyor belts are all about. The drones are all about, giving rides to things. And as we discussed, one looks at Waymo's hammer, it could give rides to things. And in fact, some things, the T part, the A to B at time T, the T is important. Because if we look at what that hammer might need to be able to give rides to things, is at a time T in the middle of the night, a lot of the things around that hammer, its handle infrastructure, it's the toughness of its head, nothing to run into that's not easy to avoid. Kind of sits there between, like between 1 and 5 a.m. Now, how many of the things that need to move A to B can really move at those times T? Certainly not all of them, but I guess Waymo they've always wanted to do all. They didn't want to come to New Jersey because it might snow. Whew, heaven forbid. It doesn't snow every day in New Jersey. Sorry. You could have done a lot of good. You could do a lot of good in New Jersey when it doesn't snow. Why do you have to say, oh, I have to do it all the time? Well, because they're part of Alphabet, I guess. So in fact, they do have, there is an enormous opportunity, maybe not for everything, but for some things. And enough of those things. So maybe you're not going to add $272 billion of valuation in one day in your company because you did this. But it may be, you might have justified your existence. And anyway, sorry to be, this is grade school economics. This is, lemonade stand economics.
And that Stellantis Waymo piece we're talking about, part of the discussion reportedly centered on how to take parcels out of a van to complete deliveries. And a piece in the Wall Street Journal has highlighted the work of Vault Robotics, a spinoff from the Princeton University Safe Robotics Lab, headed by Robert Shee, class of 22, someone you know well, I understand, Alan.
He was one of my star students. He's read the book. He probably wrote the book.
They're designing robots that can climb curbs and stairs And let's take a look at a little video.
The most inefficient step in package delivery is when the driver has to go back and forth from the delivery vehicle to each front door, stopping the vehicle every few feet, searching for packages, and repeating this process over and over is what we call the last 50 feet delivery problem.
We've designed a delivery robot that will fully automate this process and has the potential to double the efficiency of human drivers.
I'm Jaime Fernandez-Fisac, and I'm an assistant professor of electrical and computer engineering at Princeton University.
And I'm Robert Shi. I'm a recent graduate of Princeton's electrical and computer engineering program.
The innovation is twofold, featuring a novel mechanical design and cutting-edge artificial intelligence developed at Princeton's Safe Robotics Lab.
A fluid combination of legs and wheels gives the robot the agility to vault over curbs, veer around obstacles, and climb stairs.
At the same time, state-of-the-art artificial intelligence enables the robot to make safe split-second decisions and to explain its movements to people nearby. Our robot doesn't just happen to be safe.
It proves that it's safe multiple times per second.
And unlike other delivery robots, ours doesn't require a person to be home to retrieve the package.
And it's designed to seamlessly integrate with existing delivery infrastructure.
Each delivery vehicle is equipped with a crew of robots.
As the driver slowly navigates the neighborhood, the robots disperse to drop off the packages at each doorstep.
Then, the robots promptly return to the vehicle while it's still in motion.
Our robot design and AI framework have the potential to set a new standard for safety and efficiency,
and may open the door to a future with faster and safer automated delivery.
It's a startup. It's really interesting. It's taking what they have to try to solve part of one problem. It can't do all of that. I mean, the last 50 feet is really tough. And for some last 50 feet, you are going to need a human with, 10 to the 11th neurons up here. But for others, so again, with any of these things, you've got to look at the market, find a segment of the market where you can really do something that's disruptive, that really helps. Read the book.
Told you you'd be here. Automotive News reports that GM's Cruise is nearing the resumption of robotaxi testing in the coming weeks, with Houston and Dallas emerging as potential locations.
It's very good that, and I don't know if GM wrote the press release or basically sent it to Automotive News, sent their press release to Automotive News, and they just, basically copied it. And not Automotive News wouldn't add substance to, news releases that they got or whatever. I'm not accusing them of that. Of course not. I just wonder if given where they are, the headline should be, we're coming to your backyard and testing. Seems to me that might make some people say, what? You're not coming to my backyard to help me? You're not coming to my backyard to do fundamental good for me? You want to use the word test? Did ChatGPT suggest that you use the word test in here? What? Didn't that just get you into trouble where you just came out of? What? This is the if this is the message that's going to be put out there, that's going to be absorbed by the communities where you go, the backyards where you go. Somebody may not be, some of those folks may not be happy that you're in their backyard. I don't know. Again, I never took a sociology course and I have no empathy and I have no, I'm an engineer. I do equations and algorithms. I got a pointy head. Whoa. I don't know. Sorry. Yipes.
Well, you've talked for a long, long time, Alan, about creating a welcoming environment and then start to roll out.
Well, again, if you read the book, I always say is, one of the things you should do is go understand the challenges of the backyard, the community that you're going to go into. And then say, look, I have this hammer here. How the heck can I help you with your challenges? This is not an Uber, we're coming in here, lawyer up. Okay. Now, in some sense, for what they, one almost has to say thank you for doing that, for going to the market segment that you are serving today, that is happy with you serving them, for doing that. Else, we probably wouldn't have you. And me as a, I don't know, user of Uber, Lyft, I don't know, 20 times a year, maybe certainly under 50 times a year. I hope I don't go to the airport. I don't even know how many times I go to the airport and from the airport. And in that sense, there are really 4 trips that are associated with this thing. Boom, 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 boom. Or I did too many boom, booms on there, but so therefore that's why, I guess I take 10 plane rides a year, probably. I might do 40. Don't think I use them for anything else. Okay. So maybe
you might be doing 10 a year to watch Starship launches, but that's another story.
I can't wait. Coming years, man. Can't wait. But that's me. I don't know how many other me's there are. Probably, hopefully, there are no other me's. But people like me. I think that this hammer that these folks have been trying to create are looking for folks who are going to use them not 40 times a year, are going to use them 400 times a year, or you're going to use them 1,000 times a year. Real customers.
The ones who say this is how I go to work, this is how I go to shop, this is how I do it.
This helps me. Helps me live my life. And my life, hopefully, is not just going to work. It involves all sorts of very little things that accumulate. That I end up going A to B at time T. That accumulate to make me a happy camper. I think General Motors, when it sells, hasn't sold me a car. I don't think I've ever bought one. I don't think so. Oh, maybe my first one. But that came from my first one. Never mind. Was the serve me not 40 times a year, serve me 1,000 times a year, maybe even 4,000 times a year. Nah, probably not for us. I'd end up living in darn things. Not that many. And so the issue is it's not that this is a lovely hammer. It's just the hammer is hammering a lot of nails, and different kinds of nails, in different situations. But boom, 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 boom. I mean, why is this? Plus, any business knows, certainly every startup knows, customer acquisition is non-trivial. I mean, how many startups have never even gotten their first customer? Boom. And you know, it's expensive to get it. It is very expensive. It's work to get a customer. And when you get a customer, you want that customer to, well, unless you're a luxury good. Luxury goods are different. You know, how many Patek Philippe's? Ooh, you know, how many Gucci's? Starbucks? You know, I don't know what the it'd be nice. I wish Starbucks would send me what the distribution of purchases are for each of their customers and what that distribution looks like. How many people buy 2,000 per year, 1,000 per year, on 500 down to, you know, ones per year.
Well, companies like that create rewards programs, the incentives to keep you coming in. That's, you know.
Absolutely. Why? Because they found a hot one. They found somebody who at least came in there once. There must have been some attraction. I don't know. It shouldn't be that hard.
Moving along, Alan, in Germany, from notebook check, self-driving cabs on rails can be ordered like taxis via an app. They're calling this the mono cab, and sounds a little familiar. Sounds a little interesting.
Monocab takes me back, 52 years to Roar Monocab, you know, in which they built whatever. I thought it was the neatest personal rapid transit system of all time. Narrow guideway, covered, no problem solved. Actually not, because actually the real problem is air, then depositing water on the rails and it freezing, even though they're covered. Okay. Because there's humidity in the air. Oops. Damn it. I thought I could get away without heating those rails. I have to do it. Okay. No, I mean, come on. Look, if that stuff worked, it would have worked 50 years ago. Okay, we could keep those things from colliding with each other. We had operational strategies for merging, very synchronization. I wrote papers on this stuff. If you have to build the infrastructure for this, you've got a real challenge. You've got, because if it needs infrastructure and the vehicle, you've got to do both. The lesson that we learned out of DARPA was, oh my goodness, we might be able to put enough intelligence. I mean, we used this 20 years ago now in the vehicle so that we could just operate on the existing infrastructure. Maybe go and bend the knees and ask for two things: paint and smoothness, somewhat smoothness, few potholes, paint and no potholes. Guess what? Everybody else who wasn't trying to do this with, artificial intelligence, guess what they asked for? Paint, because you got to be able to see. I mean, when we drive, we got to be able to see it. And, please, not a pothole as existed, at Newark Airport when I'm dropping off my daughter at the airport. Boom, big pothole. Boom, blowout tire. Boom, can't make it to the terminal. Yikes. Come on, Newark Airport. I mean, it's how much money do you generate there, Port Authority in New York and New Jersey? You can't even fill the potholes on the access roads to Newark Airport that you control.
One crossing at a bridge or tunnel ought to pay for potholes.
Jesus, I mean, luckily I've stopped doing that. Take the choo-choo instead. I hope to never drive into Manhattan ever again.
Meta's chief AI researcher, someone we know, Yan LeCun, is saying OpenAI's world simulator, SORA, which got a lot of publicity, he's calling it a dead end. He says modeling the world for action by generating pixels is wasteful and doomed to failure. And they got a lot of publicity for SORA.
If they were generating triangles, tessels, so that in fact they could build a 3D model, then in fact they might be able to do something, because then it would be the data of that 3D model that you could then put things in it to edit it, to change it, to whatever it, to take different perspectives of it, to do. But this is like taking image processing and taking it back from really the digital world to the analog world in some sense, because it's there taking the darn thing and creating pixels. How do you edit pixels? And I it seems to me that the big crux of SORA problem was SORA. You create this thing. Oh man, that's cute. So okay, you got cute. Now you say, but I'd like to change it. How do you edit it? At least in Photoshop, you can go in there and edit. Maybe it now becomes a button on Photoshop or something. Plus, and I don't know if Yan, pointed it out. People who have created visual representations of things can sketch. And I think that the evolution of the creativity that's in any of that comes from sketching, not text, not language. Oh, I want a tree here, and I'd like to have a little blue sky or something. No. So I'm not sure that the source of the process is even the right source. For the folks that I've met in my life that do this stuff, boy, they can sketch. And they have key frames that they sketch. And there's an evolution process in that creativity. Yeah, it made a big splash, and I'd pay attention to what Yan had to say. That's at least I pay attention to what Yan had to say on this. Okay.
One note, you mentioned Photoshop. Adobe is incorporating a lot of AI tools, I suppose an AI tools
AI
into their
tool.
products
I don't know
today.
that. Geez, Photoshop was his AI. Is AI? What is AI? What is?
The idea is you have a photograph and you want to manipulate it. You can say, "Hey, put some zebras in my backyard here," so it will
Great,
do it.
great. That's. I mean, Alan Turing must be turning in his grave.
And finally, Alan, NASA utilized a private company, Intuitive Machines, for its first lunar landing in more than 50 years this past week. It tipped over after landing, but pretty amazing nonetheless, right? And the SpaceX Falcon 9 was used for the launch, we should point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, a lot of things could have been used for the launch. It is pretty impressive. Of course, they had NASA contracts to help them do that, so they didn't really do it all by themselves and so on. So I think NASA deserves a lot of credit here too.
And it was NASA's technology on board, which really saved the bacon of this too, right?
Right, and it is. Look, we all have to work together on these things, okay? All right, but the interesting thing is that a private company seemed to be doing more of the leading than just the response to a request for proposal or funding opportunity from a government visionary who in fact probably got their vision from the entity who's writing the proposal. But give me a little relief here. But again, it is a community that is creating this. It seems interesting. To think that it's taken us 52 years to soft land something on the moon. I mean, you have to say to yourself, what have we been doing? Or really, or that in fact, I guess what we did 52 years ago, and the 3 years prior to that was awfully monumental and monumentally expensive. And so if one said that this, we're going to have something else justify this besides just world prestige or winning a manufactured space race. Because 15 years earlier in 1957, we got our butts kicked. I guess that kind of support. It's almost like taking a selfie. Waymo got people to take rides so they could get a selfie. Great. How many selfies do you want? And so, how many of those kinds of manufactured initiatives can you remanufacture? But if there are now potential values, it's just more people. Again, the market segment, instead of being such a very thin sliver, becomes a little bit bigger. And it's not to do everything. I mean. A prospective student came into my office and they're telling me, "Oh my goodness, he's all about growing, doing a farm on the moon." And I'm there, what? Wow, okay, I get. We're running out of farmland in the world. I don't know, but I did. I said,
it was interesting.
I got to catch up to you. I have to go back. I have to go back to second grade. I missed something. Anyway,
I had a chance to talk to a NASA project manager on this, or one of them, Chris Colbert, this week, the day of the landing. And I asked him, I said, we were all watching, you and I, Alan, meaning when, the landings one after another took place successfully more than 50 years ago. What makes it so tough now? And his answer pretty much was the budget. The resources were unlimited back then. The government didn't care how much it cost. They were going to put it into it.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen the number, but I would suspect that this is 3 orders of magnitude less. That would be my, if you gave me an IQ test, I'd give you an answer, whatever. 3 orders of magnitude less would be my guess, if not more. And in some sense, this gets back to our original thing. I think that one of the things that Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, has been saying is that the monumental increase in the let's say floating point instructions per unit time per dollar has increased so dramatically, and they're looking for it to increase even so more dramatically, that in fact, this is why we're basically what looks like brute forcing some solutions. I mean, if you look at the so-called AI, it isn't really very elegant. It's largely brute forcing. We're solving some problems that folks had been saying are NP complete or close to NP complete, and not able to do it, and able to do it at a cost in both time and actual dollars that is palatable. And this is really what has happened here that has transcended this thing, that in fact you can do that. And the other things one should also point out is that the things that we put on the moon 55 years ago, 69, so it'll be 69. Is that right? It's 55 years ago, right?
You're counting
I was
right.
at Apollo 11 launch in July of 1969, and I was at the Houston Space Center for the first televised launch of the liftoff from the moon, and that was with Apollo 12, I believe, because Apollo 11 they didn't leave a camera there to televise the launch. I think it was 12. I don't think it was 14, but I could have, my memory could be going. But there, we not only landed, we also took off, which, in other words, the thing that you have to land there now has to be big enough and have enough stuff to take off, which it was enormous accomplishments. But I think the accomplishments were such that were made that.
And as you might point out, the compute power available was minuscule compared to what they have today.
There was an enormous amount of elegance in the algorithms and the compute infrastructure that did those things. And to look at what we have available today, I mean, it boggles my imagination. I'm just happy to been able to be part of that originally, and like hanging around here as a old guy, whatever, reminiscing and trying to comment on this and trying to provide some perspective here. And again, if we could go back to the sort of second things, read the book, because darn it, what Waymo can do, what GM can do, is they really can provide rides to people who need rides, and they can actually do it really affordably, because my goodness, the productivity of the things that they've created can be exceedingly productive if they only looked at the right places where they wanted to produce. And how to go in there is you're probably going to have to modify the way you sort of do things a little bit. But you want to modify it such that it addresses the challenges. If you want to get somebody to use you 1,000 times, they better be a worker at an airport. They can't be a well, I mean, I guess if they're a passenger, look, they have a chauffeur already. Your chance of competing with them is zero. Well, epsilon, nothing, zero. Somehow, it's amazing. Just they become infatuated with their hammer, and they forgot what it was. What it's just supposed to drive in a nail to keep something together. And
give rides to
one would
people
like
who
to
need
be able
it.
to keep our communities together. I mean, seriously, it's whatever. But sorry to be. It's Sunday morning, and we might as well make it into a sermon.
And the book again is The Real Case for Driverless Mobility. It's out now. You find it on Amazon and elsewhere, published by Elsevier. And we're going to be talking about it, I'm sure, at length at the 6th Smart Driving Car Summit coming up in Princeton. And that's not that far away now, Alan.
That's not that far away. And we're putting, I was working on it some more this morning. It is going to be focused on this, or at least if I have my way. And it's going to be focused on taking a look at this whole thing. And I mean, we may end up taking the word hammer, taking the word driverless completely out of this thing, because it really doesn't have anything to do with the technology. The technology is what makes it happen. What are you trying to do? What's the problem you're trying to solve? Which, I have to be very careful here because I don't want to get enormous amount of hate mail. It's not safety. The objective is not safety. That's a necessary condition. That's not something that I don't think nobody does not travel because it's unsafe. Except maybe some people aren't getting on Boeing 737 MAX. But seriously, I mean, only a very few. So if the thing that you keep selling is safety, your market opportunity is only those very few. And that's fine. You can do that for them. Okay? But it may be that what you have could handle people who need a ride. And why don't you focus on how good of a ride you could give them? If you only knew what kind of ride they wanted that you could give them. And you can't do that until you go ask them. Why aren't you asking them? Yeah.
The summit.
Oh, they're asking the policymakers. What? Do you think they've gone in there and asked the people how they need a ride? Never mind.
The summit. And you can hear
So
what
we're
we're
going
going to
to
be
do
talking
that
about.
at the summit. I don't think nobody's going to show up.
Starts the evening of the 29th of May, and it goes through the 31st, and the agenda will be tremendous.
Yeah, we're putting it together. We are going to deal with again, it will be focused on rides. It'll be focused on how do we improve people that give themselves a ride, their opportunity to give themselves a ride. And we're going to talk about and discuss people who need a ride and how. They
and maybe we can get
be
that
better
little
off.
Vault Robotics robot on site.
Well, no,
That would be fun.
no, absolutely we will. And on the other end, we're also going to talk about the non-people piece of this thing. Because in fact, that's where right now where the success stories are. Where people really look at this thing and it improves them getting things from A to B at time T. Because guess what? That's what they're focused on. They're focused on making something happen, which just happens to involve the moving of stuff from A to B at time T. And a lot of that is done in an environment in which they have control of that environment. And some of this stuff ends up being pretty darn easy to do or to address the environment, as we're seeing with, the last 50 feet problem. So we'll talk about these things, and maybe, I don't know, we'll make another company we'll help NVIDIA have even a bigger day.
Just terrific. And
Or
again,
others.
it starts the 29th of May through the 31st. And if you're involved in this industry, I think you want to be there. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, also on Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever you turn to for podcasts. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thanks for listening or watching. Have a great rest of the weekend and stay safe.
Thank you.